Hey, what is up, everybody? So, the Hours of Darkness DLC just dropped a couple days ago, and with it came some really interesting and unique guns into the main campaign of Far Cry 5. I want to give you my opinion and a little bit of review and some facts I think you guys should know about these firearms. I'm going to go into each one in detail here in a minute, but the three firearms that were added were the M16, the M60V, and the SVD sniper rifle. Like I said, I like these guns, but there's a lot of information you need to know about these. As far as the Hours of Darkness DLC, for what I've played of it, I've gotten part of the way through it, haven't finished it yet. I'm enjoying it so far, but like I said, again, it's not the greatest thing ever. But I haven't finished it yet, so it's not really fair of me to give a complete review yet. I will be doing that, so keep your eyes out for that. I will be later on giving you my review and opinion of the Hours of Darkness DLC. Keep your eyes out for that later on. So without further ado, let's get into the first gun. So the first gun we're going to start out with here is the SVD. Now for each of these three guns, I've gone through and picked the closest gun in the class to the new gun, the closest former gun, and I'm going to compare them side by side to kind of give you an idea of how these guns perform compared to something that you've already probably used, kind of give you a mindset of what we're looking at here. For the SVD, the closest gun was the ARCL. Now, they do have minute differences. The SVD does 6 damage, whereas the ARCL does 5. And both of them are on the low damage end. If you're really going to use the SVD as your main sniper rifle, you're really going to have to strive for headshots. Or you're going to have to take multiple shots at a target, but when you're far off trying to pick, it's not going to be as nice as the 50 cals, which basically one shot, one kill every time. As far as actual numbers go on fire rate, the ARCL can empty its 12 round magazine in 2.1 seconds, whereas the SVD takes 3.5 seconds to empty its 10 round magazine. That puts the ARCL at about double the fire rate of the SVD. The SVD can do about 175 rounds per minute, and for people who don't understand that, that'd basically be if the SVD had a 175 round magazine in it, and I shot it as fast as I could, it would take me 1 minute to shoot that 175 rounds. With reload time, you really can't shoot that many rounds in 1 minute, but that's just a mathematical equation based off how fast it can shoot in a certain period of time. So with the slower fire rate, it's definitely not as good close quarters as the ARCL can be. The ARCL, having the more red dot-ish scopes available for it, can actually suit as your main AR if you don't want to use the ARC, and it gets you a point extra damage. I've done it quite a bit before. It is a little better than the ARC. I don't think you're going to be able to do that with the SVD. Reason being is just this fire rate is not going to allow you to do that. I don't think also the SVD is going to be your greatest gun in the game for super long range. I really wouldn't use the SVD in any firefight longer than 75 meters away. It's going to be a mid-range powerhouse. Reason I say that is because at distance you're really going to have to strive for the headshot, or you're going to end up having to take 1, 2 to 3 shots on every target, which of course you don't want to do when you're trying to snipe. I do like the SVD, don't get me wrong. I know I'm kind of sound like I'm hating on it here, but I do like it. It is a solid gun. It has some problems though. One of those problems pertain to its sound. I have 2 things to say about its sound. First thing I have to say is when this gun is unsuppressed, its sound and recoil visual recoil are very satisfying. I like the sound on this gun. The crack of it is awesome. It's what a sniper rifle should sound like. I really like this gun, but unsuppressed, or suppressed I should say, well, let's just say the suppressor on this gun works really well. The suppressor makes no sound. I don't know if this is just missing data files for the sound file for this gun, or if it's a glitch, but I'm sure by next Tuesday at the latest, Ubisoft will have this patched. Next Tuesday when the live event drops, Ubisoft will probably have this patched. And my second complaint about the SVD, which is kind of a big complaint, is if you're looking at the attachments on it, which it has the standard sniper rifle attachments, one higher power scope, or not really, I'll explain that here in a second, both suppressors and an extended mag. Extended mag in this gun holds 10 rounds. I think the regular mag holds 8, but don't quote me on that. The problem this gun has is the fact that its marksman scope is really no different in terms of zoom as its regular scope. It only changes the reticle to full red, which is great at night, I will say, but I was a little disappointed to see that this gun didn't get a variable zoom scope, or even a scope that has a higher zoom level than the regular scope. And that's why I say this gun is really going to be reserved to mid-range fights. It doesn't have the zoom to really see targets far away and hit them accurately. You're going to be taking a lot of pot shots. But it also has too much zoom to really use anywhere less than 25 yards. You're going to be hip firing, and with it, like I said, with its lower rate of fire, that's not really going to pan out for you, I don't think. You might be able to pull it off if you're really good, but not really something I'm going to say is fun. As far as its recoil goes, it's comparable to the ARCL, very comparable. It does jar off to the left and right a little bit more than the ARCL, I would say, but otherwise it's really not that bad. I mean, all the sniper rifles in this game have a high recoil, but I mean, that's the territory. We expect sniper rifles to have a high recoil. Really, the SVD is a well-rounded mid-range gun. I think it's fun. Like I said, it's a very satisfying gun to shoot. I'm glad they added it to the game, and this one really, I think, was a good addition. The next gun on my list is the M16, and I gotta say, while I like having an M16, it's a cool gun to have, fun to use just because of what it is. It's not something I'm going to be seeing in my regular loadout, just for the fact that it is a copy, stats-wise, of the ARC, and that kind of disappointed me because, especially once you've taken out 2 of Joseph's Heralds, the game becomes difficult enough that the ARC is kind of useless. It takes so many shots to put down one of those higher level enemies that you're just pissing through ammo and almost not doing anything. You might as well go shoot a Nerf gun at them. And it kind of disappointed me that this is a copy of that. I was hoping we'd see something in between the ARC and the AK-47 at the least. But I guess I should have expected it. Even in my playthrough of the DLC itself, I've noticed I've already put down the M16 in favor of the AK-47, because even in the DLC it is just so much easier to use because of the higher damage. The attachments on this gun I don't think really fit it. They're too modern. I I really like this gun just how it is. You know, extended mag, I will put that in there, but the suppressor and sights, I think the iron sights on this gun kind of feel cool, kind of give you that nostalgic feel. The gun feels great. Don't get me wrong on that. The gun feels great, but as for its performance, I don't think it's going to hold up, and it's not going to be something most players are going to end up using in their regular loadouts. Now, even though it does have the same stats as the ARC, as we've noticed before, it doesn't actually perform quite the same. In a recoil test, it actually has a little bit higher recoil. But what I did notice in my test were that the M16's recoil almost always is a really straight up line, whereas the ARC tends to deviate left to right a little bit more. I think that's going to lend the M16 at a little more distance ability, but not much because of its low damage. You're going to be just emptying a magazine to take a target out at any more than 50 yards. And it's not really something that you really want to be doing. I'm glad they added it. It's a nostalgic gun. It's cool to have, but really, I don't really know if I'm a fan of the stats they put on it, to be honest. That's really what's bringing this gun down right now, is those stats. Otherwise, this is a great gun. As far as fire rates go, it does mimic the ARC in that aspect. Both of them can empty their 40 round magazine in 2.8 seconds and puts both of them at 850 rounds per minute, which is pretty normal for a fully automatic AR. But really, it's just more of the same, to be honest. And I was a little disappointed, but I really love the nostalgia this gun brings to the game. And to wrap up the end of the list here, we have the M60. The M60 is a carbon copy of the old M60, and the new one is called the M60V. I can only infer the V stands for Vietnam. And for those of you who are wondering, why do we have two M60s that have the same stats? What Ubisoft has done is they've added the old style M60, the original M60, which was used in Vietnam, whereas the one we have in the game currently is more closely related, or looks like the M60 A3 or the third model or the fourth. I'm not quite sure what they were going for there. If you really look at the real one compared to what's here, there's kind of some mixing and matching there, so it's more in the newer generation of M60. I honestly, now that they're both in the game, prefer this the Vietnam model that was just recently added. But really, there's not much to say about this gun, because through all my testing, I have found zero difference between them, except for aesthetics. So really, this is going to come down to what looks better to you. And the M60V, I kind of like the look of it better, but that's just my opinion. They shoot the same, have the same damage. There's literally nothing I can find, even through testing them for recoil and all those things, where sometimes I find indiscrepancies between guns that have the same stats on paper. I can't find a difference here, which isn't really surprising to me, considering that these are literally the same gun. But there's not really much for me to say. If you like the M60 and you think this one looks better, then it's probably for you. That's really all this one comes down to. So there you have it. So there we have the list of the 3 new guns added to the game. Like I said, I kind of hope maybe Ubisoft gives us the older styled M133 later on, but I don't know if that'll ever happen. As far as these guns go, I think they're cool to have these older styled guns, the nostalgia of them. I am a fan of older guns, and I use all the guns in this game. I use the lever guns. I use revolvers. I don't really just have a set of guns. So I will probably be using these guns in my gameplay, as I already have. And I like to see some different guns, some different variety. It's nice to see these. If I had to pick one out of this that was the gem out of these three guns, it would probably be the SVD. It's the only gun that I think really added something new and interesting, and the fact that it's a really strong medium range gun, which I don't think we really had. The closest thing we had to that was the ARCL, but the ARCL leans more towards the AR style of fighting, since it can kind of do it all. It's a jack of all trades. You can put a long range scope on it, take single shots and take targets out, or you can put short range scope on it, put it in full auto and go to town with it. I think the SVD really has kind of created its own little niche there with that fact. I do kind of hope maybe we see a variable zoom scope for it in the future, but otherwise I really don't expect that to happen, to be honest. So that's pretty much it. That's the 3 new guns in the game. I think I'm out of things to say about it. So I really appreciate you guys watching this video. If you liked this or found it interesting, could you leave a like on the video? I'd really appreciate it. And if you want to see more detailed content about Far Cry 5, subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be putting out a series soon about the vehicles of Far Cry 5, really nailing down which is the fastest and which ones perform well. That's something I'm working on right now. So subscribe if that's something you're interested in, or just Far Cry 5 content in general. I try to post weekly about the live events, and if I have any tips on how to complete them quickly. And again, I really appreciate you guys watching, and have a great day.